Hi, everybody. Whew, what a day. Sorry, I'm a couple minutes late here. I think maybe not. Anyway, I have to scoot off relatively quickly tonight, and I do apologize. I am on another call, Zoom call with my Penn State students with regard to what we're going to be doing in the fall. All of that being said, if you are struggling with your kids and looking for some supports, we want them to go back to school as socially and emotionally well as possible so that they can be academically successful. Please check out drterirouse.com for some resources and some assistance. Tonight, we are reading Pickles to Pittsburgh. And this is the sequel to Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs, and it is written and colored by Judi Barrett, and the illustrations are drawn by Ron Barrett. This book was first copyrighted in 1997. Dear Henry and Kate, I'm having the best vacation ever, but I don't get much rest. I really wish you were here. Our group travels around in a big blue bus, and somehow it manages to climb up and down the tallest and bumpiest mountains and around some of the biggest plants I've ever seen. We visited many unusual places, met the local people, and even helped them out with some of their chores. I'm taking lots of pictures because this place is hard to believe. Can't wait to see you next Thursday. Love and hugs, Grandpa. Oh. Woo. We all missed Grandpa an awful lot. His Saturday morning pancakes, his mostly funny jokes, and especially his wonderful bedtime stories. Tomorrow would be Thursday, and he'd be home. We could hardly wait to hear where he'd been and what he'd done. To pass the time, we helped Mom make spaghetti and meatballs for dinner. Henry made the largest meatball we'd ever seen. They barely fit into the pot. Mom thanked us for helping, but asked that the meatballs be much smaller next time. After we finished eating, Henry and I cleared the table so we could help bake a special welcome home cake for Grandpa. It was chocolate with strawberry icing and made in the shape of Grandpa's face. We licked as much of the batter off the spoons as we possibly could. I took Grandpa's postcard up to my room and put it on the little table beside my bed. I kept staring at it and wondering. The lamplight made bright a photograph of a wonderful place that seemed somehow familiar. I said goodnight to it and drifted off into my dreams. Surrounded by milky blue skies and with Henry as my co-pilot, we carefully steer our plane through large puffs of mist. Soon we find ourselves soaring over an island, a very lumpy island. From the air, it looks like a gigantic feast. Immense vegetables, salad, and desserts lie beneath us. The mountains look like huge loaves of bread. We decided to take a closer look and prepared ourselves for a bumpy landing. Avoiding some broccoli and narrowly missing a tremendous hamburger on an oversized bun, we came down and taxied on what appear to be giant strips of crisp bacon. Henry and I stepped down from the plane and look around in awe. Before us lies a strange but wonderful landscape. We are surrounded by larger-than-life vegetables. Nearby is a lake that smells like breakfast, bordered by a leafy jungle of lettuce that resembles a tossed salad. We try to keep our balance as we walk around the top of a gigantic bagel and past a forest of towering carrots. What? Excuse me. One is pierced by a tunnel large enough for a car to drive through. Off in the distance, we see popcorn snowing down onto the peaks of enormous rolls. Way above our heads, high up in trees that look like broccoli, chubby birds are nesting in huge shredded wheat biscuits. Ahead of us, at the end of a long road, lies what looks like an abandoned town. Eager to know where we are, we start walking toward it. Excuse me. Sweet smelling rain begins to fall. It collects in hundreds of open containers that are lined up in a field beside the road. Lots of orange puddles are everywhere. Orange juice. All of a sudden, we find ourselves standing in the shadow of a giant tuna sandwich being delicately airlifted by helicopter. In the distance, another helicopter races off with a jumbo pickle in tow. When we reach what's left of the town, we see the remnants of a sign welcoming us to a place called Chew and Swallow. I know I've heard that name somewhere before. We walk through the entire town in amazement. Up ahead, lots of workers wearing helmets and dressed in matching uniforms are loading huge potatoes onto a truck. Other trucks sag under the weight of immense artichokes, enormous eggplants, and massive peas and carrots. Foot-long veal cutlets are stacked up to be packed for shipping. To the east, the weather is changing, and we can see sandwiches raining down. As soon as they land, they are piled up neatly, ready for shipment on a freighter anchored down by the shore. Eggplants to Ecuador, chili to Chile, milk to Milwaukee, hamburgers to Hamburg, pickles to Pittsburgh, pears to Parrots, artichokes to Argentina. Large reservoirs of milk and cream flow into extra large containers, which are lined up, ready to be loaded onto a ship. Printed on the side of the trucks are the words, Falling Food Company, large food for large and small countries, free. Wouldn't that be cool? One of the workers tells us that Chew and Swallow used to be a very ordinary little town, except that instead of weather, food rained down from the sky for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Back then, he said, some quirk of nature, the falling food grew larger and larger. Storms of gigantic food threatened normal life, so the people took their belongings and sailed away to a new land on rafts made of huge slices of stale bread. They returned years later to see what happened to Chew and Swallow. They discovered an endless food supply and decided to create the Falling Food Company. Now, Daily shipments are made to all parts of the world, from the smallest towns to the largest cities. As soon as the food lands, it's wrapped, boxed, bottled, or packaged and sent out to people who need it. Even with poverty and drought throughout the world, there's always enough food for everyone. Henry and I think this is a great idea. We wish we could stay and work here, but I don't think they hire kids. It's getting late and we hate to leave, but we really have to be heading home. Mom's expecting us for dinner. The workers give us a 2-foot wide chocolate chip cookie, which we carried back to the plane. It barely fit through the door. We buckle up, I rev the engine, and we start rolling down the bacon runway. As everyone waves goodbye, we can see dinner approaching from the west. Spaghetti and meatballs, I think. As we gain altitude, Chew and Swallow slowly vanishes into the distance. My alarm clock woke me with a jolt. It was finally Thursday, and I wanted to get to school fast. The sooner I got there, the sooner I'd get home, and the sooner I'd see Grandpa. When we got home, we ran as fast as we could into Grandpa's waiting arms. I brought something back for you, said Grandpa, and he gave us each a very large box containing a chocolate chip cookie he'd gotten on his trip. They were the biggest we had ever seen, almost 2 feet wide. Mom made Grandpa's favorite dinner, chicken and dumplings, and we surprised him with our special welcome home cake. He chose the slice with the mustache. By the time dinner was done, it was late and Grandpa was tired. When he was all tucked in bed, we knocked on his door to give him an extra goodnight kiss. Then I told Grandpa the most wonderful tall-tale bedtime story he'd ever heard. It began, surrounded by milky blue skies, and with Henry as my co-pilot. Grandpa stayed awake until the very end. Then he looked at us with a very funny glint in his eye and said, "Wait till I show you the pictures I took on my trip." And then he drifted off into his own wonderful dreams. The end. I don't know if you can see that weather map or not. Let's see. But wouldn't it be nice if there was plenty of food for everybody? I imagine that there probably is. It's just not in the right places sometimes. Thank you very much for being here with me tonight for another edition of Bedtime Books with Dr. Teri Rouse and GusGus. I hope that you have a great rest of your day. Remember to be grateful for all the things that you have, and be thoughtful and purposeful and mindful. Have a great night. I will see you here again tomorrow night at 7:30 for another edition of Bedtime Books with Dr. Teri Rouse. Good night, everyone.